All right, and welcome back, guys. I know this is kind of terribly lit right now because we always have light coming in here, so it's going to be a little sketchy. But we've got these new stands I made, so you can see the engine on this one. Rolls around real nice. A huge improvement from the empty stands. The empty stands are just, they're waiting for a disaster to happen the way they're designed. So I made these with a longer edge. I made that stand video. You can watch that. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and take this engine out of this thing. We'll put the new one, put the exhaust on this one, and then put it back in here and see how it drives. For this one, we're going to be putting on these heater boxes and this single tip, and it has flanged exhaust on it so it won't leak. They really work good. Also, because we have the heat riser, we wanted to run the original exhaust. Makes it a lot easier to do. So we'll get this one out. All we got to do right now, I've already done off camera, remove the air cleaner and all the stuff in the rear. And all I need to do is take off the last 2 bolts and pull the engine out. So let's do it. You can see how nice and easy this is to work with when these things work right. Have these nice rolling things here. Just roll the engines around. So I can just swap everything over. Get my chair. So anyway, start taking stuff off of that engine that I need. Put it on this one. And then get this one in there. Actually got to hook up the oil cooler and spin-on filter and all that for this, so it's going to be a little bit of work. All right, that's where we got the oil filter. That's why I put them this direction. I got that oiled. Put this on. hard to film up in here, so we'll just kind of, yeah, I'll bring you guys back in as I get this going. And you can get your hand on here pretty good too, so it'll be good to tighten it and loosen it. It's a Jetta fuel filter, so, or no, oil filter. So anyway, yeah, that should be okay. I mean, there's probably a bunch of them that will fit on this, but that one seems to be about the right size, kind of hides well. I screwed up here, drilled, so we'll just kind of ignore that. Hit this bracket, and then I realized, shoot, I should have been back a couple more inches. I don't think any of the other years have this thing. Only the 67, so oh well, it's just to lighten it up a little bit. This is where we replace the oil cooler. These things are really strong. It's, you know, it can take a hit if something hits it pretty good. So, but I make sure I put 8 screws, so I got 4 on each side to hold it in. And on this bracket that I had to make right here, 4 screws on it and 4 screws on that to make sure, you know, if it rips the fan off, that's one thing, but if it rips the oil cooler off, something, you run over something on the road, it at least won't do that, I don't think. I mean, hey, who knows what you drive over, right? I mean, anything could happen. But we got it pretty well bulletproof, so let's wire this thing up, and then what we got to do is got to run this one. So I'm going to run one straight from the engine all the way to the inside here. Well, the inside's the bottom, and the out here is going to go over the top and over to, it can go to either one, but it goes here. It'll sense the oil that's hot coming in and turn on the fan earlier. I guess that's probably better. I don't know. Yeah, I guess that'll work. And then, yeah, should work fine. All right, I'm going to show you how these relays work for these fans if you were hooking one of these up. You really should use a relay. What a relay does is typically you would take, if you didn't have a relay, you would have, this is the ground, this is the positive, the blue on these, and it would take, you would hook up the ground to one of the leads here on the thermostat and then hook the other one up to ground. Okay, but what happens is that little coil that's inside that little thing there is not going to take a lot of heat. So it's better if you take the load off and you put it on the relay. All a relay does is has an electronic set of points inside that is activated with magnets, so electromagnet. So one side of it, called the line side, okay, it actually charges that electromagnet and makes the points touch. So when the points touch, then the load side is energized. Okay, if you follow what I'm saying, so the one side that's the line side, I've tied the 2 positives together because we're going to get positive from the same place. It doesn't matter. And then the load, the line side, the other side of the line side goes through, I don't know if you can even see, one side of it goes into the thermostat, the other side goes around to ground right here. So as soon as this reaches temperature, then the ground for the line side is activated. Okay, so the points close, and then the positive from here goes through the points in here to the positive on the fan. I don't know if that makes sense to you. Hopefully it does, because now this thing here is not taking the load anymore. This little coil that's inside that thing. So that will make this thing last near forever. Well, hopefully. I don't know. It's got that word on it that tells me that maybe we might have a problem someday, but who knows. So that's how you use a relay. I use them all the time. There's a lot of different things you can use them for. This one is nice because it does have a fuse on it. And they're available on Amazon very cheap. I buy them by the tens or whatever and use them on a lot of things to take the load off of the stress. Same thing on sometimes on your ignition switch. If you're running, running the engine on your ignition switch is not a big deal. But if you're running anything that draws a load, you're going to want to use a relay to take that off. I'll take that load off the switch. So that's how they're used now. That's why there's tons of them in the new cars. And that's why cars last so much longer today than they used to. So now all I got to do now is run this line up to the positive and we're good to go. So I'll get that going and move on to some other stuff. Another thing I did too is I drilled through here. I used my step drill bit, the big stair step drill bit, drilled through here, put my oil lines going through here. I probably don't need to, but I'm going to see if I can find some grommets. I probably don't need to because this has got, this has this Teflon coating on the outside of it, and it's not going to move much. It's not like it's in an area where it's, I don't know, winds, not much stuff's going to be going on down here. So it could just rest in there and be fine, and make sure it's not sharp anywhere. Already done that. If I can find a grommet to work for it, I'll use it, but if not, then it's fine the way it is. So anyway, that's hooked up. I got to hook up the oil lines. Got a lot to do. Well, I got to tell you guys, this bus takes a motor like a $2 whore. It just goes right in. All right, let's fire this thing up and see how it sounds. Alright, of course it sounds like hell. I gotta fix the exhaust leaks. I went to go around with my hand while it's running and put it over where the exhaust is. I still gotta wire up a couple things, just want to do a quick start on it. Yeah, it's definitely needs some little stuff here, and it's stalling, so you could probably crank that up a little bit more. The idle, it might still stall. So anyway, it's a choke car. It's kind of cold out today. It's gonna take a little time to warm up. So anyway, we'll play around with that stuff, kind of get it a little bit better in the bus here. I got to put the heat tubes on, hook up the heater cables, a couple more line items there, and then see if I can fix some exhaust leaks. Just fired up, and then while it's running, put my hand around the exhaust carefully without getting burnt, and feel where it's coming out. And then I've got those little 10mm nuts on there, so I don't know if those are gonna cut it. I might have to put the bigger ones on. And they just don't cut it. They can't get them tight enough. You got to get these exhaust systems, got to be pretty tight. And then what I'll do is after I'm done, I'll put silicone on the threads. Use high temp silicone. I use a Mega Black, guys. I'm telling you. Guys are fighting me. Oh no, Permatex is better. Okay, whatever. Try it once and then tell me it's better. Anyway, Mega Black from O'Reilly. It works amazing. Stuff's really good. Lasts a lot longer. It's harder. It's just the better stuff. So anyway, we'll look for some oil leaks. See if we got any of those. I don't think I see anything. All the AN fittings aren't leaking. So we'll get it up in the air and keep working. And then you guys who haven't watched my rolling engine stand video, oh my God, these are just the hot ticket. Wider here, engine stays on it, steel wheels, rolls with the weight on it without having the flat spots in the wheels like the MP ones. The MP ones have like a small lip here. They're terribly made. These things, it cost me, I think, about $25, $28, something, maybe $30 to make the. I think I made 2 of them for that, a little over that. These wheels are like 16 bucks on Amazon. I mean, this is a permanent thing. Once you do this, you're good. And I've got 2 of them now to roll the engines around. So check that video out if you want. All right, guys, I just wanted to show you this. So I've got my wire here. If you see this little red section, that is shrink tube. If you go to like Harbor Freight, you can look for that in the automotive section. And the reason I put that there is because it's wire going through a frame. You could put grommets on there, but obviously the shape of that, it's not going to happen. So I just protected it with some extra shrink tube. You can do that, and look that up. You can, if you don't know what it is. Shrink tube. I use it all the time. You can solder it and then use shrink tube over it, but just this is like an extra protection just for going through that little frame piece. All right, she's running. I'm gonna let it warm up a little bit. I'm gonna go for a little drive. Bring you guys with me and we'll take a look. All right, let's check it out here. Still a little cold. Whoa. More power than the other one. That one was nice and torquey too, but it just didn't have any top end to it. So let's see. Take it uphill, and this one's got a lot more torque. Trying to find first. All right, so let's go. Runs good. Goes up this hill at 45, no problem. 50. Well, actually, remember we got tall tires, so we're probably going 55. Whoops, 35 zone. Have to do some adjustments in the carburetor. It feels like it's not transitioning quite well. Let's try a couple things here and see if we can get it to be better. I think I'll lean back out the intermediate jet. I richened it up again. It's a little too lean, I think. I do it too rich. Wanted this thing to run better. I think we put ratio rockers on it. These big tires soak up a lot of energy. That's a very steep hill right here. Runs good. Gotta get it good warmed up and then see where it's at. Anyway, I'll bring you back in as I find some different stuff and we'll get her all fixed up. Talk to you guys a bit later. Alright, so a little bit of tuning to this thing. Went a little bit leaner on the intermediate jet. Went to 55 or 50, 55 and a half or 55. So yeah, it seems to like it a little more. It transitions between idle and low RPMs and higher RPMs pretty well now. These late model carburetors always get me a little, you know, the later model ones, 34s. They have a little more, you know, I usually ran 2-barrel, so I'm not used to messing with them. But this one, sometimes it doesn't want to come back down to idle. Like, the way I understand it is there's an idle circuit, which is the little solenoid on these, right? And then you have the intermediate jet, which is between idle and what's it called? I guess they call it a pilot jet somewhat, you know, sometimes or whatever, but sometimes it just doesn't want to come down to idle. Here it takes a little while for it to come down. But I think they were designed that way somewhat because of emissions. So if it came down to idle slower, it would burn it cleaner or something like that. That was why they made the intermediate circuit, if I remember right. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I don't remember. But like I said, the most time I ran dual ports, it was either a 2-barrel or, you know, so I'm not used to tuning them lately, you know. I mean, it's been, I'm trying to think of the last dual port one I had just ran perfect, so I didn't need to do anything to it. Still got that little ticky exhaust leak, which kind of drives me nuts, but I don't know if I'm going to pull the exhaust system out and double gasket it or something like that to get rid of that thing. Seems like a lot of work. It seems to be getting better as time goes on. Maybe it's just the exhaust manifolds kind of finding its home. It's definitely the right side upper that's giving me a little trouble. It's like he broke down. Maybe not. Maybe they're just showing it off, showing a buddy. So anyway, we're just we're not going fast enough for this guy. So anyway, don't even bother stopping the stop sign if you're going to pass like that, dude. Why not? You know, hey, if you're going to do something illegal, just keep going. Anyway, yeah, it seems to be better. I turned down the choke circuit a little bit. Yeah, it seems to not want to idle. It seems to idle better. It's coming down. It's coming down to idle. I checked. There's no vacuum leaks. If you're wondering that, I checked everything. I usually can tell that. It usually is right away. The motor starts wobbling back and forth a lot. You know. So anyway, it seems to be running pretty good. Super solid feeling, nice and smooth. Definitely not as powerful as my 1904 that's in my dark red bus. And that's because it's tuned way down. Mine has about the same cam but with ratio rockers on it, so it's got over 400 lift and about the same duration as this one does. I've checked the cam specs on this, and it's not the same as an Engel 100, which is, what I was expecting, but it's fine. Mine has ported heads as well, but it also has a 2-barrel, and 9-to-1 compression and a merged exhaust. So between those things, I probably picked up another 10 horsepower, or a little more than that, maybe. So yeah, this thing just feels like a great, it's exactly what he was looking for. Something really, really, really like no nonsense. Pull the bus down the road, go up the hills a little faster, that sort of thing. It seems like it's doing all of those things. So anyway, definitely coming down to idle now. It wasn't before, and all I did was just, I think maybe I had the air screw set wrong, so I just reset it. And it just wasn't like it coming down to idle for some reason. But it still is a little slow coming down to idle, but I think that's just the way the PIC 34, 34, or whatever they are, they kind of work that way. I don't know, maybe you guys can comment that. Like I said, I don't tune these that often. Either I have a 2-barrel or I've got, something else, or, not really dual carbs. I didn't really do that. But we did have these in the shop, and every once in a while I remember playing with them, but it's been so long, I don't really remember. So anyway, it seems really good. This motor seems to run definitely when it's into the main jet circuit, it's on the money, seems like to me. It's not too lean feeling. It's got a 130 main in it, which sounds about right. Somewhere there, 130, 135, usually is about right. Put some fuel in it, maybe take it on the highway a little bit, make sure it seems good. And then we're going to call it good, I think. Well, these NTP connectors were leaking here. It's always like this stuff until you get all that stuff. I mean, I've got sealant on there. It was tight. It gets hot once and then cycles, and then you just got to retighten them, check them again. Every job you do on this thing, you got to do 3 or 4 times. Just the way it is.